obscure city is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding him. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com. Throughout time and space, there are stories of the Time Lord who stole a blue box and defeated the Daleks, the Time Lord who communed with the moment and ended the Time War, the Time Lord who hijacked the Pandorica and rebooted the universe. So it's about time you hear the stories about the Time Lady. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and our story begins in 2017. Peter Capaldi had just announced that he was ending his tenure as the Doctor with the upcoming Christmas special Twice Upon a Time. But his departure didn't just mark the end of the 12th Doctor, but the end of an era, as Stephen Moffat was also stepping down as showrunner, after overseeing two of the most successful runs in the history of the franchise. So immediately rumors started to circulate on who would take his place. The answer would come early that summer, when the BBC announced that former Doctor Who writer and Broadchurch creator Chris Chibnall would be taking over as the new Doctor Who showrunner. So of course, that announcement was followed up with mass insane speculation as to whom was gonna take over as the Doctor. Rumors ranged from Bill Nye, to Rupert Grint, to Ben Whishaw. But soon, it was announced that the new Doctor would be revealed on July 16th, 2017. For those of us with access to BBC One, the reveal aired right after the Wimbledon men's final. For the rest of the world, the reveal video would be made available at the exact same time on the official Doctor Who YouTube channel. So we all waited in front of our screens with bated breath to find out which actor was going to play our beloved Time Lord next. And thus, the 13th Doctor was revealed to be Jodie Whittaker, the first woman to canonically play the role. The reveal was met with the expected amount of douchebaggery from the internet, but most Doctor Who fans were 100% okay with it. And I just have to say, if you had a problem with a woman playing the Doctor, then you, my friend, have missed the point of the show. You are not a fan, and you need to f*** off and go watch Andromeda. Soon, the 13th Doctor's official costume was revealed, which was met with the usual,
I don't like it.
and then the inevitable,
You get used to it.
Nah.
The 13th Doctor's costume was inspired by a picture that Jodie Whittaker showed to costume designer Ray Holman. The image came from a 1988 teen magazine called Sassy, and it shows a woman in a t-shirt, suspenders, high-waisted trousers, and boots, walking with determination and purpose. This was the silhouette that Jodie Whittaker wanted for her Doctor. The coat was inspired by the coats and dresses worn by women during the suffragette movement. The light blue color represents the sky, and the dark blue lining represents space. And personally, I've always liked this costume. She looks iconic.
That's what you're going with.
Suffice it to say, casting Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor was a bold move, and with bold moves come bold changes. Her Universe, a website dedicated to creating clothing exclusively for fangirls, started carrying the Doctor's costume. Hell, Jodie Whittaker even modeled the coat at the Her Universe fashion show at San Diego Comic-Con. And furthermore, Mattel produced the first ever limited edition Doctor Who Barbie. And it wasn't just the companies and the corporation. Jodie's casting had a beautiful, unexpected effect on the fandom, as there was a sudden outpour of love towards the franchise, as old fans, new fans, and even some notable members of the franchise started dressing like the Doctor to show their support. This air of positivity increased even further when it was announced that the 13th Doctor's first episode would premiere on October 17th, 2018, which would set in motion a whole new season that Chris Chibnall boldly proclaimed would feature none of the classic Doctor Who monsters. Wait, what?
Season 11.
Season 11. Now, there were some positives to this season. The one thing that the entire fandom agrees upon is that the best decision made during this era was the casting of Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. Inspired by Christopher Lloyd's performance as Doc Brown in Back to the Future, she is the caring crusader in the cobalt coat. Unlike Capaldi's grumpy belligerent version, the 13th Doctor was a lot warmer and sympathetic, but at the same time socially oblivious.
Do you want me to go get it while you make your terrible pakora?
She is this adorable, fast-talking mad scientist who commands every single scene that she's in, be it through intensity or whimsy.
Look at you and your platoon of Jadoon near that lagoon.
And the season actually starts out really good, with the highest rated introductory Doctor episode in the history of the franchise, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. When we last left off, after an epic encounter with two versions of the Master and the Mandasian Cybermen, the 12th Doctor is mortally wounded several times, but holds back his regeneration until he runs into his original incarnation, played beautifully by the extraordinary David Bradley. Inspired by his past self to move on, the man who doesn't hug actually hugs his companions goodbye, delivers the most epic speech ever, and finally lets go, officially regenerating into the cutest Time Lord ever.
Oh, brilliant.
Just in time for the TARDIS to go haywire and dump her out mid-flight. Meanwhile, in the next season, the story picks up in Sheffield, England, where an armored alien and a ball of tangled extension cords are causing havoc. Here we meet our new companions, Ryan Sinclair, Graham O'Brien, and Yasmin Khan, aka Yaz. And honestly, I don't have much to say about the companions during this era. From Susan to Bill Potts, I've always had strong opinions about the companions. But as far as Ryan, Graham, and Yaz go, I just feel horrifically indifferent about them. In fact, I honestly prefer the scenes in this era where the Doctor is alone. And I mean, no disrespect to the actors, they're very talented, I just never connected with these characters. Like I said before, the episode itself is great. Seeing the new Scooby Gang fall under the attack of the killer ball of yarn in a train, only to have the Doctor literally fall into their lives. The Time Lady doesn't waste time and immediately gets back to work, delivering exposition, building a new sonic screwdriver, getting a companion killed, and saving the day. Fun fact, Jodie Whittaker is afraid of heights. I tell you this because she actually performed the crane jump during the climax of this episode, in spite of the fact that she was terrified. Now that is badass. The Doctor then gets her new signature outfit, rigs up a kooky wacky teleportation whatchamacallit to take her back to the TARDIS, but accidentally takes Ryan, Graham, and Yaz along with her. The second episode this season is also really good, The Ghost Monument, where the Doctor and her new companions race across a hostile planet to recover the TARDIS. Now, as far as the new TARDIS interior goes, I give it a C-. The interior went from looking like a big impressive spaceship to looking like a set again. Not the worst, but definitely not the best. So yes, the first two episodes of season 11 are good. It's after those two episodes in the show starts to drop in quality. The episodes range from ridiculously underwhelming to uncomfortably awkward. Now, please don't misunderstand me here. I am not trying to say that Doctor Who shouldn't be topical. I mean, the show has been topical since the second serial when they introduced the Daleks, who are a blatant allegory for the Nazis in World War II. But it's also important to remember that this is a very goofy show with a very goofy tone, and should take the utmost care when addressing serious historical events like segregation and the partition. More serious sci-fi dramas like Quantum Leap could easily take on these topics with class and dignity. Doctor Who, on the other hand, is the wacky show with the time-traveling phone box and the tin dog. It's just not the right venue for these types of stories. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there is a massive difference between Doctor Who doing an episode that takes place during World War II than doing an episode that takes place in a concentration camp during World War II. But I digress. So our season ends with the most lackluster finale of the revived series. The Battle of... I don't know how to pronounce this. Where the big bad who was pulling the strings throughout the whole season turns out to be the blue guy from the first episode this season. I completely forgot about that guy. I thought he was just the villain of the week. Hell, I didn't even bother to learn his name.
Dimja.
Whatever. Anyway, the big moral dilemma of this finale is how Graham wants to get revenge for Blue Guy killing his wife during their first encounter. There's just one little itty bitty little problem with that. Blue Guy didn't kill his wife. Graham's wife, Grace, died when she decided to fight the ball of death alone while hanging off the side of a crane, and unfortunately, she fell, which is horrible and tragic, but it's not directly Blue Guy's fault. The big twist at the end is that Graham doesn't kill the Blue Guy, which would have been shocking had I been emotionally invested in this subplot. 90% of season 11 is just bad. Thankfully, the show would redeem itself as the classic monsters would start to return with the first special of this era, Resolution, the franchise's first New Year's Eve special, where a couple of archaeologists accidentally revive a reconnaissance Dalek, who is like an advanced scout that precedes an invasion, and for that reason, it's armed with abilities that pure Daleks don't have, like the ability to reconstitute itself when dismembered, and the capability to drive other organisms in the same manner that he would drive his casing. And lo and behold, the companion subplot during this special is actually really good, as we see Ryan's deadbeat dad return. This resonates, as we know that he abandoned Ryan when he was very young. And to make matters worse, he failed to attend Grace's funeral. So you know that guy deserves a talking to. And I especially love the Doctor's initial reaction to meeting him.
You weren't at Grace's funeral.
No.
Ryan waited for you. You let him down.
Furthermore, this is the first installment of the 13th Doctor's era where I started seeing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. Now, I've explained this many times before. It's nothing personal. I go through this with almost every actor who has played the Doctor. It's jarring to have a new actor take over as a character that you love from one episode to the other. So there's almost always a period of adjustment. Like I said before, Jodie Whittaker was always great in this role. But it was during this special that for me, personally, I stopped seeing her as an adorable super cutie and I just started seeing her as the Doctor.
Do you think I'm daft enough to stand here without shields?
As many Whovians have pointed out, there is no better test for an actor to prove himself or herself as the Doctor than to put that actor opposite to a Dalek. And Jodie killed it, delivering one of the absolute best performances of her tenure, making you feel the long history between the Doctor and her long-term rivals. This scene alone is an acting clinic.
Who are you? Identify!
I'm the Doctor. Ring any bells?
Season 12. The second season of the 13th Doctor's tenure takes off with a bang, with the massively epic two-parter, Spyfall. Part 007 homage, part conspiracy thriller, part time travel insanity.
I'm not where I wanted to be, but I can work with this.
This episode has one of the coolest cliffhangers in the history of the franchise, with the Doctor reverse engineering a way to save her companions from the past.
I love a laminator.
Plus, this two-parter sees the return of my all-time favorite Doctor Who villain.
Doctor, I did say look for the Spy Master. Or should I say Spy Master.
Many have criticized the decision to bring back the Master so soon and labeled it as nothing more than a desperation maneuver, as during the previous era, Michelle Gomez completely reset the bar.
No, I've not turned good.
And honestly, I find it difficult to disagree, Missy was a tough act to follow. With that said, Sacha Dhawan still did a fantastic job as the Master, and he most definitely honors the role of my all-time favorite Doctor Who villain.
Call me by my name.
Master.
The rest of the season fluctuates between episodes that are good to episodes that are just okay, but nothing truly terrible. And then we have the story arc for the season, the story arc that broke the fandom, The Timeless Child. The arc kicks off with the very divisive episode Fugitive of the Jadoon. And yeah, I should mention that Captain Jack Harkness is there, but he's only there for a few seconds, so there you go. But that is not what made the fandom lose their ever-loving shit. The straw that broke the Tauntauns' back was the revelation that the first Doctor was not the first Doctor. Apparently, the Doctor had a whole other regeneration cycle before the first incarnation that we know. And apparently, she used to work for a super secret Time Lord group called the Division. Inevitably, all the agents of the Division are captured and either killed or mind-wiped and forced to regenerate. In the now notorious episode, the Doctor runs into one of her pre-First Doctor incarnations, played by Joe Martin, who's hiding out in a quaint little village, where a Jadoon platoon, near a lagoon, catch up with her. Now, full disclosure, when I first saw this episode, I didn't like it. I just felt like we had just done the whole, oh look, there's a whole other Doctor that we didn't know about, storyline during the 50th anniversary special. Furthermore, it just seemed like we had just gotten used to the new Doctor, and now we were being expected to accept a whole other new person as the character. And hey, I like Joe Martin, it just felt like it was too soon. The two-part finale, Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children, further exacerbated the situation. Here, the Master reveals to the Doctor that she is not a Time Lord, or a Gallifreyan for that matter. She is a mysterious being from parts unknown who naturally had the ability to regenerate. The Gallifreyans took her in, extrapolated her regeneration abilities, and applied them to themselves, rechristening themselves Time Lords. This also annoyed me, as I like for the Doctor's past and her origins to remain mysterious. But as time has gone by, I have come to accept this storyline. I realized that I was guilty of my own Doctor Who rule. I was trying to define the Doctor, and that the addition of more lore doesn't make the Doctor less mysterious. But there is still one nagging question that gives a collective aneurysm to all Whovians. If Joe Martin is the Doctor before William Hartnell, then why is her TARDIS in the shape of a police box? I have a theory about that. So, the Joe Martin Doctor is on the run from the Division, so she decides to execute a plan they will never see coming. She breaks into the TARDIS repair shop and steals a Type 40 TARDIS that is faulty. So of course, it malfunctions, so it lands on Earth in the 60s in London and takes the shape of a police box. Eventually, she gets captured and brought back to Gallifrey. Her TARDIS is put back in the repair shop. She is mind-wiped and forced to regenerate into William Hartnell, who lives out most of his life on Gallifrey. Eventually decides to run away, so devises a plan that they'll never see coming. He breaks into the TARDIS repair shop, steals a faulty Type 40 TARDIS, and of course it malfunctions, so it lands on Earth in London in the 1960s and turns into a police box. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. And thus we arrive at the second special of the 13th Doctor's era, Revolution of the Daleks, where some kooky scientist finds the remains of the Dalek from last year's special and clones it. Why would you do that? Oh well, as long as it doesn't lead to a mass invasion. It does! So the Doctor reunites with her companions and Captain Jack Harkness to stop yet another Dalek invasion. We also see the Doctor resort to her old Machiavellian ways that we haven't quite seen since her days as the 7th Doctor.
But they're gonna kill more humans.
They don't care about humans. They're the enforcers of the Dalek race. To combat Daleks, you brought more Daleks.
And thus, after this adventure, Ryan and Graham leave the TARDIS. Sorry, I really, honestly, truly don't have anything to say about them. Sorry.
Season 13,
This season was filmed during the pandemic, so in order to adhere to COVID rules, instead of shooting individual self-contained episodes, they produced the first ever fully serialized season in the history of the franchise. The Flux, which sees the Doctor and her companions, which now include Dan Lewis, sorry, I don't have strong feelings about him either, trying to stop an antimatter wave that threatens to consume the entire universe. This season is awesome. Full of intricate twists and turns, over-the-top action sequences, and high-concept sci-fi insanity. Just pure good old-fashioned Doctor Who. Oh, and even more Machiavellian mischief.
So do we stop it? Do we warn the Daleks and the Cybermen?
Save them to defeat the Sontarans.
No. My plan's more risky than that.
Yes! After 3 seasons, the creative team finally figured it out. Unfortunately, Jodie Whittaker was ready to step down as the Doctor. And in an even more surprising turn of events, Chris Chibnall was also stepping down as showrunner. The good news is that we would have plenty of time to say goodbye, as Jodie would stick around as the Doctor for a trilogy of specials, which would kick off with Eve of the Daleks, also known as the Groundhog Day special. The movie, not the holiday. The special itself takes place on New Year's Eve, but anyway. The Doctor, Yaz, and Dan find themselves caught in a time loop, along with some Daleks, the owner of a private storage service, and one of her customers. The twist is, the time loop always ends with all of them dying, and every time they die, the time between the loops gets shorter. So they're literally running out of time. So the Doctor must figure out a way to get everyone out of the time loop before it closes and they all end up permanently dead. I love this one. It's one of my favorite standalone stories of this entire era. The trilogy of specials continue with Legend of the Sea Devils. As the title implies, the Sea Devils are back, this time in China in 1807, where they plan to use the Keystone to flood the Earth. This one is just nutty swashbuckling fun. And thus we arrive at Jodie Whittaker's final appearance as our favorite time-traveling hero, the power of the Doctor. The Master is back. This time he plans to use a planet-sized machine and a being made of pure energy to cyberform the Earth. And that's not all. To get the Doctor out of the way, he force regenerates into her body. So it's the Master's consciousness in the Doctor's body.
I have a message for all your remaining news viewers. I am a doctor, and I caused this.
So it's up to the Doctor's companions to save the day. And I don't just mean Yaz, Dan, Graham, who came back, and unit director Kate Stewart. I'm talking about some of the Doctor's classic companions as well, such as Tegan Javanka and my all-time favorite companion, Ace.
That is a good look on you, Professor.
She called her Professor. To guide her companions, the Doctor leaves interactive holograms of herself. However, not all the companions see the Doctor as a gorgeous blonde with a slightly unintelligible accent.
Great. Now I'm hallucinating. What?
You're affecting the interface of your hologram implant.
As mind-blowing as it was to see Peter Davison again as the Doctor, opposite to Janet Fielding as Tegan Javanka, nothing emotionally prepared me for this.
So it's fine for me to blow stuff up when you decide. Nothing's changed.
It's never fine to blow stuff up.
Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred together are just magic.
So, we're good.
Oh, we're more than good. We're ace.
And they weren't the only past Doctors to get cameos.
You are not finished.
We are not finished.
We being
Vestiges of your consciousness.
Fragments of yourself.
From the past.
They most definitely saved the best for last, as this special is fan-freaking-tastic, full of action, excitement, humor, and some of the most touching moments in the entirety of the franchise. I cannot give Sacha Dhawan enough credit as the Master. He absolutely killed it. And sadly, I can't even play his best clip with audio, because then YouTube would block this video. But take it from me, this is beyond the shadow of a doubt one of the Master's greatest appearances.
And I have all the time.
In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and claim that The Power of the Doctor was a better 60th anniversary special than the actual 60th anniversary specials that we got, which were fine, but The Power of the Doctor was just a better celebration of the entire franchise as a whole.
What's happening?
Concentrate. Reunite.
Yes, let us hope.
Good luck, Doctor.
And now for the confession that might shock all of you the most. The Power of the Doctor, the final installment of the 13th Doctor's era, is when I finally started to like Yaz. Again, no disrespect to Mandip Gill. My lack of interest in her character before this special had more to do with writing and presentation than her actual performance. Here, Yaz finally stopped being defined by being either a wannabe cop or by her crush on the Doctor, which quite frankly is all hat. And she finally becomes a badass time-traveling hero. So much so that in the end, it's 100% justified that she is the one who saves the Doctor. Yes, it's a shame that it took me so long to see the beauty in this character. But hey, better late than never. And I have to say, her final scene where she attends a support group with some of the past companions is absolutely beautiful.
You okay?
Is she okay? Of course she's okay. She's the Doctor.
And so, just like the 12 Doctors before her, the 13th Doctor's time came to an end. After taking a direct hit from the energy being the Master kidnapped, the Doctor has one last ice cream with Yaz, retreats to a very epic looking cliff, and tags in the next Doctor.
Tag. You're it.
And thus we said goodbye to the first female Doctor, and we said hello to the first man of color to play the role. The extraordinary Ncuti Gatwa. What?
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 That's a story for another time.
Final verdict.
Once at Comic-Con, Matt Smith was asked to explain what Doctor Who was about. And he very simply said that the show was about change, evolution, and regeneration. And no actor who has played this role embodies that progression like Jodie Whittaker. Her unshakable optimism and determination are an inspiration. All the while, she never attempted to play the character as a flawless know-it-all. Her Doctor was flawed, and regretful, and secretive, and more often than not, emotionally oblivious. In a time of unwarranted, pretentious online trolling, the Doctor became a symbol of hope and acceptance, of never backing down from the critical and the ignorant, and becoming a steadfast advocate of the message that being different doesn't necessarily mean that you're not brilliant. Until the next regeneration, I'm Eron, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.